The pick is in.
The Buffalo Sabres have made their first selection in the 2025 NHL Draft. I'm Rachel Donner, joined now by Joe DiBiase of Locked On Sabres. And the Buffalo Sabres have selected Radim Mrkta, defenseman, with their 9th overall pick. Are you surprised by this pick, Joe?
I am not really surprised by this pick. I did hear on the broadcast that they were a little bit, because I could very well see anybody look at the Buffalo Sabres and look at their roster and say they have Rasmus Dahlin, they have Owen Power. For now, they still have Bowen Byram. There's no trade yet. They just acquired a defenseman yesterday in a big trade, or earlier this week, in Michael Kesselring. They've got a lot of good defensemen. But the reason I am not surprised is if you go down into the organizational depth chart for the Buffalo Sabres, they have almost nothing on the blue line in the AHL and at the junior level that you would project to becoming a full-time NHLer. Maybe they get lucky with somebody like that, but I think that Radim Mrkta immediately becomes the number one Sabre defensive prospect in the organization. And past the guys at the NHL level, they really didn't have a lot coming in the pipeline, so I'm not that surprised by this pick.
Yeah, he's objectively the second best defenseman in this draft, which is not too shabby to add to your system for sure. Is there a particular part of his skill set that you're excited to add to this prospect pool?
I actually, my biggest excitement is he sounds and appears to be a very good puck-moving defenseman, somebody that could have some offensive upside, a player that could play big minutes at the NHL level. He's a right-shot defenseman, and those come at a premium in the NHL. It's always talked about how there are more kids coming up playing lefty than righty, so I think that's a premium for him as well. The other part of Mrkta that I think the Sabres would emphasize is that he's big and he is physical. 6'6". This is a team that has been pushed around. One of their worst moments of their season was their best player getting knocked to the ice and nobody coming to his defense. And I think you're seeing a continuation this offseason of the Sabres going for players that are not going to get pushed around. And I think 6'6" already at his age, he's definitely fitting that profile.
Yeah, I think he could definitely fill out a little bit, but that will absolutely come with time. And I think that he's on a really good development path. So when would you expect to get him at the Sabres level?
I think he's at least a 2 to 3 year player, probably more towards the 3-year timeline. In terms of some of the raw skills, I do think that, you know, the physicality is there, but as you mentioned, him filling out his body a little bit more, I think he's going to have to be somewhat of a physical player when he arrives at the NHL level. And sometimes we're kind of witnessing this right now with Owen Power. He's able to get away with it because he's got so many other skills, but he doesn't quite have his man strength yet at 6'5". He's trying, he's putting time in the weight room, but he's not quite there physically. So with this player, I think it might be a little bit more important for him to have that before he becomes an impact player at the NHL level. So if you had me guess right now, I would say he'll go 2 years of development, and then maybe that 3rd year is when we finally see him in Buffalo.
Well, for more on defenseman Radim Mrkta, here is Locked On NHL Prospects.
How has Radim Mrkta established himself as the clear top right shot defenseman available on draft day in the NHL? I'm Sebastian High from Locked On NHL Prospects, ready to give you a breakdown of his game. Mrkta is a 6'6", 218-pound right shot defenseman, a June 9th birthday. He's young for this draft class, and he made a mid-season switch from playing pro hockey in Czechia to coming to the WHL to play with the Seattle Thunderbirds, and in 43 games, he scored 3 goals and 35 points. The offensive game really blossomed as the year wore on, but you'd be taking a swing on him on draft day because you believe in his physicality, his mobility, and his high-end defensive intelligence. This is a really good shutdown defenseman. He has some flashes of Marcus Pettersson and Gustav Forsling in his game and could become a number 2 defenseman in the NHL someday, needing probably 3 years to crack the league. For more on Mrkta and all things NHL Draft, make sure to follow us at Locked On NHL Prospects on YouTube or wherever you find your podcasts.
And for continued coverage of Radim Mrkta and the rest of the Sabres picks in this year's draft, check out Locked On Sabres on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.